Hey, welcome to third episode of Gridiron Barbecue and North Texas Football Podcast and YouTube video. Once again, I'm Frank Johnson, former coach. This is Rudy Hawkins, another coach.
I like the applause.
Yeah, and special guest tonight, Jonathan Hull from the Wichita Falls Times and Record News.
Hey, not a coach.
Not a coach,
Not a
but the
coach.
whole shebang, baby.
The whole
There it is,
shebang.
the
All
whole shebang.
right.
Man, honored to have you here tonight.
Well, I appreciate it, guys.
And
No, hey,
it's good to put you on the other side of us too.
it's it's different. This is fun for me because I'm not having to interview, and I've interviewed both of you a lot. I've sat in your offices and kind of BS'd quite a bit too. Can I say BS'd?
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
Say whatever you want.
I don't
I won't go that far, but
I don't think there's any restrictions on podcasts.
no, there isn't. No. But I didn't know what kind of rating you wanted on your.
Well, we want to keep it semi-family friendly.
Yeah.
So,
Okay. PG-13. Well, probably not PG-13. PG.
PG, NR-17.
Well, I think I'm at the wrong house all of a sudden.
I don't know what the popping is tonight.
Yeah, I don't either.
Maybe that white cord.
No,
Hopefully
it's
you
just
guys
like
are
my
hearing
son.
it and they're not hearing it on your
I think
Yeah,
they're
good
here.
stuff.
Oh, well.
Well, we do appreciate you coming all the way over here to beautiful Holiday,
Hey,
Texas.
you got a hell of a setup here, Frank.
Yeah,
It's,
we're in the cook shack. I know people can't see it, but this is my happy place. I spend a lot of time out here. I cooked a lot of food. I watch film out here. I used to.
yeah.
Occasionally watch a Robert Earl King live stream concert.
You got a pet spider down here.
I do. At Walter, named after Walt Garrison, who was one of my favorite all-time
That's
cowboys.
all right.
So, start the show like always. Going to talk barbecue tonight. We had. You can't see it.
Can't see that. Yeah.
We had burnt ends out of rib tips, and what I did, I trimmed pork ribs, spare ribs. And, I kept the leftovers, and I trimmed them up bite-sized pieces because you don't want to choke on them. Put a little smoke on them for about an hour. Then wrapped them and covered them in butter, brown sugar, and a little Coach J special barbecue sauce, and I let them cook for another probably 2 hours, and kind of caramelized that meat. And I think it had a really good flavor. And if you cook something sweet enough that'll kill a diabetic, I think you've done your job. So I like it. I like sweet, and burnt ends can be made out of pork belly, brisket, roast. You can do all kinds of them, but to me, it's like eating a dessert for your
Yeah,
main
I mean, it's the
course.
second time I've been here. I remember coming here one night. I came over here and you had your staff out here and you cooked some what you call
Poor man burnt
poor man
ends.
burn ins, and I think you did that out of chuck roast, and man, they were really good. I mean, it was almost as good as me beating all your staff in cornhole that night.
I do not, Senator. I do not recall that kind of behavior.
I'm just going to let you know. I think me and one of my coaches came over here, Chris Simmons, and I think we kind of took everybody down. So it was a good night for us, but the food was better than the cornhole play.
Well,
Well, I'll say this: you had me at ribs. Period. That's it for barbecue as far as I go. Ribs are my number one, and I think ribs do need a little sweet. Got to have a sweet glaze.
no doubt. Pork to me got to
Yes,
have brown
yes.
sugar.
I think it's a go-to for sure at any level. Just at home.
Mm-hmm.
And back when I first started cooking, I was like, oh, I just want ribs. I don't want sauce. I don't want nothing. I just want rib.
Yeah.
And then the more that I've gotten into more of competition cooking and things like that, everything was really sweet and everything was more candy-like. Once I got a sweet rib, it was unbelievable.
Yeah.
My dad was the same way. My dad was like, "You ain't eating no sweet rib, boy." And then I gave him one, and that's the only one he wants anymore.
Yeah.
You got to have some brown sugar, some honey, right there to go with it. And I like to make a little bit spicier rib.
On your rib, yeah.
So my base is spicy, and then go with that sweet glaze type deal, and kind of even it out. Makes it really good.
Well, I cooked ribs on Labor Day, and they're gone. which is fine. That's what you're supposed to do. I wasn't saving it for the show, but I always put a little. I really like it. It's pepper jelly, a habanero.
Okay.
Just a beat of habanero jelly in there with my brown sugar and my butter, and I put that rib down and wrap it, and I really like that pepper jelly, and later on I'll glaze it, and a little sweet heat, but a little. You can get carried away if you're not careful.
And when you go with habanero, it don't take much.
No,
Not at all.
No.
You say my dad's the same way, and I grew up with my dad always a lot of smoking. My dad makes good barbecue, and but the same way he doesn't want the sweet. No sweet rib. I've never had a sweet rib for him. I love his ribs. Don't get me wrong. I love my dad's ribs. I love my dad's brisket. But yeah, there's just something about like you say, a sweet rib. There's a place down in Abilene called Stillwater. It's not open anymore. Stillwater had a good. I don't know what they did with it, but they had a good sweet pork rib. And of course, they were known for their big old dino beef ribs they had too, but their pork rib was fantastic.
Beef ribs are hard to cook.
Yeah.
I haven't cooked many in my life.
I haven't either. I've just always felt like if I'm going to cook, I'm just going to go with brisket.
Well,
yeah.
To me, it seems real similar.
Well, and to me, that's Texas barbecue, right?
Well,
It's the brisket.
And unless you catch beef ribs on sale, they're expensive. You don't want to screw them up.
Yeah. Oh no. Yeah. Oh, one rib is. You go to a place and you buy one rib, and that's a lot of money.
Yeah, and it is a lot of meat. But I was in a cook-off last spring on beef ribs. The judges, I don't know what's wrong with them. They had to be on crack or something. It was just a small family thing, and we ended up feeding the Methodist Church in Rotan, Texas, with our ribs.
Okay.
But I was the only non-family member in the contest, so I knew I wasn't going to win.
Right. Yeah.
You were fighting an uphill battle.
I was. The wives the moms were gonna vote for their children, which I get. Moms,
That's what they should do, right?
that's what they should.
That's what
do.
your wife would do.
And girlfriends vote for their boyfriends, and my wife wouldn't go. So
Here, I'm gonna get a bite out here. I'm getting a big one too.
I'm telling you, this makes you want to go back. I was over there and I kind of grabbed 3 or 4, and it led to about 15. And it's got a good.
I've had 2
bite
cups
of it.
worth, so it's
Yeah.
they're easy to cook. That's the thing, and I hate wasting when you trim up a spare rib, because you got to make it look pretty when you cook it. But I hate wasting the meat. A lot of people throw it away. I'm hoping to buy a grinder so I can attempt to make some sausage somewhere in the neighborhood of what Windthorst can make. I don't know if I can pull that one off, but I would like to start making my own sausage and maybe selling a little bit at Coach J's Gridiron Barbecue.
Yeah, I do the same thing with my ribs there when I cut them off, because it just it cooks more even when you got your ribs when you cut that part off, because it's thicker than the rib and all, and it kind of thins down to the point and all. But it's really really good meat.
Yeah.
So if you're ever doing a spare rib and you want to trim them up to get your box, then go ahead and cook them. That's what everybody that's cooking. That's what they're eating.
I've got a grinder on the way, so I can make. I've got a freezer full of brisket trimmings, so I can make smash burgers out of them.
Okay.
And,
Here we go.
And I've got a bunch of pork that I'm either gonna make sausage or burn ends out of. But when you have your family over, they make a great hors d'oeuvre. I highly recommend them.
Yeah, I agree. And those that we had tonight were great.
Yeah.
And once again, it's football season, and what goes better with football than barbecue? Nothing. I mean, it just.
I don't care what season it is.
Barbecue is barbecue.
You can see from the video here. I'm not missing many meals, and I can put down some barbecue.
To me, it just the one exception, the closest thing might be Mexican food, because you sit down and you start eating.
Yeah.
And you eat till you win, and I really enjoy that. But I've always enjoyed something about barbecue on a Friday afternoon and going to a football game. Now, when I was coaching, I never could hold it down. I'd get nervous and I couldn't eat it. But boy, barbecue on the weekend, and especially now we got college football going. We got pro football starting Sunday.
Starting Thursday. Well, we're putting this. I'm sorry, I'm ruining the real time here. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's all right. Thursday. Well, this should be out tonight. So
Okay, well there you go. Yeah.
So yeah,
Okay.
tomorrow night.
Tomorrow night.
I don't even know who's playing, but
Kansas City and Detroit.
there you go.
Hey, look out for Detroit, man.
Yeah.
Look out for Detroit.
Like
you know, ever since I watched the Hard Knocks with those guys, I've been a fan, man.
Yeah.
I think their head coach is great, and it just was a great show to watch. And
Yeah.
I've become a Detroit Lion fan a little bit, man. It's kind of
Dan
different
Campbell.
colors. For
Dan
me.
Campbell is one of those guys as a player. I mean, never was. I don't think he ever made a Pro Bowl, but he's always that player you just kind of love. He played for the Cowboys for a short spell, of course, for the Saints as well, and he was just always kind of that player you loved, regardless because of how he went about it, and was a really good blocker as a tight end, could catch the ball little, move the chains, but yeah, it's translated over to him as a coach.
Yeah, I was very impressed, and you kind of mentioned a little bit on college football. I know because I've known the whole shebang for a long time, and you can tell by the hat that he's wearing,
Right.
and he's not wearing this hat post.
I didn't pick it up.
Prime.
I didn't pick it up on Sunday. I'll tell you
You've been
that.
a long time Colorado Buff fan,
Yeah.
and I know as soon as I saw that game, I was like the happiest person in Texas right now with Colorado winning was Mr. Hull.
Well, my 2-year-old has never seen me that excited at a football game. Watching a football game, that's for sure. So he had some odd looks for me, and then he was getting into it too, just cheering because Dad's cheering. But yeah, when I was 13 years old, I watched Cordell Stewart throw a Hail Mary pass to Michael Westbrook to beat Michigan, and up to that point, my favorite team was Baylor. Like I was Baptist. I was raised Baptist. I'd go to the Baylor games on Baptist Youth Day or whatever, and so Baylor was my favorite team. I loved Grant Taft and what he was as a coach, and but I saw that play in Colorado. I thought it was the coolest thing I ever saw. And Colorado became my favorite team when I was 13, and so man, I've stuck with them thick and thin, and I think I'm pretty well known for the hat. People see me around. I'm pretty much the only Colorado fan that most of my friends and family know, and so no, that was so gratifying.
Well, I knew you were going to be happy on that, on that day, and especially and then beating a Texas team on top of that, it kind of gave you a little bit more.
Beating the team that was playing for national championship last year.
Yeah.
And I know TCU's not the same.
I'm not happy about it.
Well, one of the stats I saw when I was watching the game is like those were the two schools that in the entire nation that had the most non-returners between the two, and in two different situations. TCU graduated most of their guys, and then Dion just came in and got cleaned house.
Well, but it's funny because people are talking so much about what Dion did, and now Sonny Dykes didn't do it to the degree that Dion just did, but Sonny Dykes kind of did the same thing. I mean, he came in last year and he hit the transfer portal hard, and that's where they got a lot of those pieces and put them together for that run to the national championship. And here, listen, Dion is given the blueprint. I don't think everybody's going to be able to pull off that blueprint of flipping a roster. Somebody else that just did it, though, was Texas State. Texas State had,
speaking of Baylor,
51 new guys in the program that from the transfer portal. And so, again, there you see it. Flipping a roster, and you go out and you beat Baylor. Upset Baylor. They were a 27-point dog in that game. So there's a format there with this transfer portal age, and you got to play into it.
Yeah, I mean it definitely changed the game, and I was not a fan of it because I thought it hurt high school athletes.
I do too.
I'm still not a fan of it.
I'm not completely a fan of it either, but it is what it is.
It is what it is.
I think they just. And the coach is they're gonna figure that. They're figuring it out, and you got to play the game. What I didn't like about it, and I think they have to do something about these kids transferring every year.
Yeah, I do too. I don't like the unlimited transfers. I think that's egregious. But it's the thing with high school athletes too, though, what you're going to find, though, is some of these guys that maybe they get overlooked too, because this presents some opportunity for some athletes. Hey, we break in at the ground floor, so I go to a D3, and hey, I show out. Well, then I can take another step, and then I can take another step. It almost becomes like a minor league situation. Now, again, I don't love that for college football. but I think there are going to be some pros to it as well. It does give athletes a little bit more control over their life because coaches leave whenever they want.
Well, and the other thing is, I had a cousin that got recruited to A&M. This is back in the
50s.
No, it was
30s
in the 80s. It was Stony Case. Stormy Case.
Okay, yeah, Stony Case. Yeah.
Stony won the Odessa Permian, won the
yes,
national champion. Stony was recruited to A&M, never had a chance to play. He was a backup quarterback to Thigpen.
Yeah.
And Thigpen was a good quarterback. From a selfish thing, I always wish they had transfer portal then so he could have had a chance to play somewhere. Because he was a good high school quarterback, and I thought he would have been a good college quarterback, but not at A&M.
Yeah, and I get it. And there's times, and I think anytime a coach leaves, every kid should have an option. I don't care if you've already been to your third school, but I think if a coach leaves, you should have an option. And one of the things, I was with Coach Castles from Ryder this past weekend at a wedding, and in the transfer portal, he even said, I didn't like the transfer portal until my son needed to be in the transfer portal, and now he's doing great things in ACU, and got the leave from Tech. So, I'm not totally against the transfer portal because I think the players need to have a little bit of say-so on, hey, I don't like the situation. I was 18 years old. I'm 20 years old now. I want to try something different.
Yeah.
That's great. I just don't think the quarterbacks you see that they're on their fourth year or their fourth school. I don't.
Quarterback's tougher because of course, quarterback's tougher than the position because only one can start.
Yes.
And so that's why you see, and you always have seen a bunch of transfers at that position. Going back before the transfer portal, think about guys like Russell Wilson once transferred, played most of his career at NC State, finished at Wisconsin, and so guys do that and have done that throughout because of the quarterback position. But that's when you look at a guy like Jalen Hurts who waited and stayed with Alabama and helped him, and did eventually transfer and go to OU and did what he did there. But you have to admire a guy like that does stick it out. It gives, to me, you find out a lot more about a guy's personality, and kind of their level of commitment to, crap, I'm not the starter. Well, let me get out of here. I don't know that I want somebody like that wants to jump around to each place because they're not the starter.
What I thought is gone from there, and I think this is in pro and in college, and I even think it has come down to high school. There's no loyalty anymore.
Yeah.
The old Beach Boys song, "Be True to Your School." It ain't there.
Love that song.
It's not there. It's a great song, and I'd sing it for us, but we don't have enough time tonight.
I was going to back you up. I was going to try the Brian Wilson party.
It's a great song. I like to play it. If I was going to transfer anywhere, I'd go to Texas State for one semester till I flunked out.
I've always said that. I always said I would never make it. I barely made it through Midwestern.
Yeah.
I can imagine going to Texas State with the river right there.
If I had the river and, honestly, Green Hall.
Oh, man.
I would never go to class.
One of my wife and I's favorite places to go is Green Hall. It's just such a great place.
It's where I proposed to my wife.
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
Green Hall.
I proposed my wife on the ski slopes, but I met her at Bob Will's days in Texas.
Nice.
So we got something in common.
I think my wife is still mad at the way I proposed because it was in the pickup, and I said, "You want to go get a ring?"
I'm still just shocked she said yes.
I am too. I think she has second guessed herself many times.
Yeah.
Every year on June 16th, I think
she's out of town a lot, right?
Yeah. She's not home tonight.
It must have been that June day. We were June 22nd.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I was summer too. No. I'm gonna get in trouble.
Whoa,
she's gonna watch this. It was December. It was December, and went to see William Clark Green. It's the only time I've been to Green Hall. It was my first and only time.
You got to see William Clark Green.
William Clark Green, and I knew I was going to propose. I was hoping because one of our songs is a William Clark Green song. This Is Us, and I was hoping he played the song, and so I even contacted his manager and everything, trying to get him to play the song, and it just wasn't on the playlist at the time. So instead, I went around to the side and proposed to her after a concert. It worked out.
Tie this music venue into football.
Yeah.
When my first coaching job was in Plainview, Texas, which Plainview plays Thursday night in Wichita.
Yes, they do.
The fiddle player for the Randy Rogers band was one of my students and an athlete for us in Plainview. And
Nice.
he told me in class one time, I asked him what he's going to do with his life. He said, I'm going to be a fiddle player for a country band. I thought, oh, yeah, whatever. And then that sucker, we had this talent show, and he come out playing he was riding a skateboard. And he played The Devil Went Down to Georgia on the skateboard.
Nice.
And it was fantastic, and he definitely made an impression, and I'm glad I tried to get free tickets to a show one time. He won't answer my dad message, but yeah.
Yeah, you can play Devil Went Down to Georgia on fiddle. You're going to go places.
Especially if you're playing it while riding a skateboard.
And riding a skateboard, that's impressive.
I'm going to stand up, guys.
Oh, you're good. Make me feel short.
Yeah, you are.
Well, speaking of football, Thursday night over here in Wichita Falls, Plainview Bulldogs 2-0. Just the old high Coyotes 0-2.
Yeah.
But you got to put an asterisk by the old high teams. Two good teams.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you open with Ryder, and it's tough. You can't even match numbers.
No.
You know, and that's such a tough game. And then you got to make that trip to Hereford. You got to deal with the smell.
Yeah.
Of Hereford.
And ironically, the coach at Hereford is a Plainview kid that I coached years ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah. You know, it's one of those deals. I was talking to Free today, and I was like, I was keeping up with it on the app, and it was 21-0, and you never know who's messing with the scores. I'm like, that can't be right. And then next thing I look up, I looked at it again, it's 21-19. I'm like, okay, here we go. And the next time I look, it's 39-19 or 40-19.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's messing with the score. And then it looked like they fought back and it's 45-40.
Yeah, they
so
ran out of time. It sounded like.
Yeah, and he just said it was just one of those nights, and that's how it is sometimes. You go on those long road trips. I think we talked a bit about it a little bit last week about going on long road trips. And nothing just seems right.
Well, the other thing, I'm not at Ohio's program, but that first game against Ryder was such a big game.
Yeah.
It's hard not to have some type of letdown after that game.
Yeah, I mean, you've been to probably every Ryder Old High game in the past
10 years.
10 years.
Yeah.
That was my first ever be able to witness. I mean, talk a little bit about that atmosphere.
It was different. I mean, it was different than anything else that's been there. The closest I could say that they came to that previously was 2014, 2015. They had some pretty good, nice sellout crowds, but even the playoff game between the two was not like that. It meant something you could tell. It meant something different. And when Old High was kind of mounting that drive late in the second quarter, I mean, you could feel the energy coming out of the stands on that side. And you know what? I know people talk about how many Old High fans left early. Man, a lot of them didn't.
Right.
Like that middle section stayed pretty full.
It was an incredible atmosphere.
It was unbelievable. I mean, none of those kids will play in another atmosphere like that. It won't happen again this season. And unless some of them go on and play big time college football, will they ever see another atmosphere like that?
But even there, you got to play big time.
That's what I'm talking about, yeah.
Otherwise, I don't think.
Just the meaning of that game.
Yeah.
I mean, the significance, the historical
everything part of it, being the last one, being everything else. And it was just one of those nights where I was blessed to be able to just be part of that last game and be just a small part and just to be able to kind of take it in. I was very impressed with the Wichita Falls community with the come out that they did. Saw so many guys that I'd known. I went to Old High part of my freshman year and saw guys that I hadn't seen since that year.
Can we switch? Yeah.
It was just.
We're gonna play musical chairs.
It was just a crazy night, and it was a very cool thing to be part of.
Yeah. Sorry, we're playing musical chairs because I'm fat. And
we don't throw away anything.
But yeah, I think Old High's just fine. I think they're going to be just fine. I think they got a good squad, and then they've lost some pieces. And it's just going to take a little bit of time to get them worked in, but their schedule's just tough.
When you look at, I think too often we judge a team by their previous year's record. So we look at Hereford's 1-9 last year. That's so misleading, because what did they bring back? And Hereford, I've covered plenty of Hereford football games over the year. Gosh, Big Spring and Hereford, starting my career, I think they met in the first round of the playoffs every year, and then they became district opponents.
Yeah.
And
Hereford's got a long tradition of
they do,
football.
yes. And back to the days whenever Craig Yenser was the head coach there in the 90s. And I know Craig Yenser because he was head coach at the at Midland High. That was my beat, and so I got to know Coach Yenser very well.
I've known Coach Yenser a long time. Hell, I met him when I had hair and no belly. and I don't think I had. I'm not sure I had children when I met Coach Yenser.
Well, Coach Yenser never had. I think still has hair and no belly.
Yeah.
You know, but yeah, I got sweet memories of the man. But you know, and he had he had a great teams there. And of course, what's his name? I'm trying to think of the quarterback he had. Went on to play at Texas Tech. And gosh, I'm blanking on the name there. I'm gonna kill myself.
Well, a great kid.
Yeah. You're the same way.
He got knocked out in a
tip of my tongue.
In Arena Football League game, and it ended his career. Oh.
Yeah.
He was the guy that caught the ball, and no matter where the laces were, he threw it out of his hand.
Yeah. Again, I 1,000 other times I'll tell you this kid's name. It's still tip of my tongue, but yeah.
I met him at a passing camp years ago, and he's a
yeah.
I kept thinking Harold, but that was Ennis.
No,
yeah, it was Ennis. Yeah,
it was before.
And he was before
same color.
Graham. But yeah, Hertford again. You got the proud tradition there, and they always have. They've had great kids coming through. Hell, whenever I was there, they had a kid named Parker Gridwell. Well, he's pitched in the major leagues later on, so he wasn't so bad of an athlete himself. But you go through it, and they have that proud tradition, so they're not going to stay down for long. And so it's just unfair to judge a team, I think, by the previous record. That's kind of my point here. And you have these expectations on Old High because of the run that they made, and I'm not lowering my expectations on them. But it is tough. And this Plainview team is tough. They're 2-0. And to me, they just beat a Pampa team that's typically very competitive in the same district as Hertford.
Beat Levelland, if I remember.
Beat Levelland. Levelland's been down for a few years, but you know, I think Plainview might be more improved.
But they've got Plainview is an interesting place. They'll have I was telling Coach Hawkins earlier, they'll have years where they're great, and then they'll drop off the table, and then all of a sudden they're great again.
But it's been a long time since they've been great.
Yeah. They've got it. Yeah, it's about time for them to be.
Yeah,
they got a 3-hour bus ride, and it's supposed to be 100 and whatever. So.
And I talked to Free today, and he thought that the coaches out there this year have done a better job with them than in the past.
And it's the third year, I think, for that coach. The fourth year for the coach there.
And they're kind of establishing their program. So
they haven't had a whole lot of.
They're coming in 2-0, I believe you said.
Yeah.
And so they're riding high, but it's that again. It goes back to that long bus ride, and they're going to come here on a Thursday night, and on Thursday nights, I mean, it's a little bit out of whack.
I'm gonna pick Old High tonight or tomorrow because I doubt we have any listeners out in Plainview, so I'm gonna go with the local folks and pick.
My picks get printed. Every week, so I picked Old High. I think Old High will beat Plainview. Get that first win. I think they're going
to come back.
We got 10, 20 people listening to us every day, y'all. So I'm gonna go out on a limb.
As much as anything, too, I believe in Coach Free.
Yeah,
I believe in what he does there. I do think they're missing some senior leadership. He told me as much this week, but actually after Friday's game, and you guys know you can't replace senior leadership.
No, it's very hard to do.
And particularly whenever it's a 4-year guy like they had, and a guy like Cameron Gould. I mean, you just don't replace that kind of experience and so easily. So it takes a little bit.
Tough to do.
All right.
Got one down.
Go Yotes. Ryder, Lubbock Coronado, 2-0 versus 0-2.
Yeah.
I think you got to go with Ryder.
I love the way Ryder's playing football this year. It is complete opposite of what you expect out of them.
Well,
yeah, I talked with Coach Bindle yesterday, and he's like, yeah. We huddle up for the first time ever.
Yes.
Since I've been around. I mean, when's the last time you saw a Rider team huddle up? But I'll tell you what, I'm telling you who I'm very impressed with. Just crazy impressed with after watching the first game, and in the environment that they were in for the first time. I was extremely impressed with Joe Castles, the quarterback for Rider. As a sophomore, going into that situation, that environment, I thought he did a great job.
I did too.
And then that offensive line, look out, guys.
That offensive line.
They look like bulldozers.
And the run game, what they've got with 3 different running backs, very 3 now. I say this, but I think it is common knowledge that's out there. They did lose one of them. Tyrone Morgan broke his collarbone.
Yeah.
And so they're going to be without him for a few weeks, and that hurts. But but you still got a guy like Kenji Johnson, who I dubbed the little train because he had deer and water on his back for the first game against Old High, who was the big train back in the day. That was his nickname. And Kenji Johnson's not going to be mistaken for Bub Deer and Water and a big train at all. But I love his running style. Downhill, patient runner. And the kids from Archer City, all three of them, have mixed in. I did not think it would be that seamless.
No, I did not either. And I'm telling you, though, I think I could run behind that offensive line. I mean, they are big, and they're just physical type guys.
I can't run behind anybody. My jog is.
You could jog behind this line.
Trying to referee some ball games, I tried to sprint once. It was a no-go. It's no faster than a light jog.
I can barely walk 2 steps without spraining an ankle. So
I went home after that Ryder Old High game, and I told my wife, I said, and we've known Joe since he was younger because my son and him play baseball against each other and travel ball and things like that. But I'm like, I might have just watched the next Power 5 quarterback come out of Wichita Falls.
Corey Hogue said the same thing. And Corey does a lot with DCTF. He sees a lot of college football. And he actually wrote a little scouting report for Dave Campbell's after the fact and said, yeah, he looks like a Power 5 quarterback. And it's, again, how he handled the pressure. Jumping from 2A to 5A football, you can't understand the difference unless you experience it.
Yeah.
A lot of times the speed of the game is so much different.
I just was impressed. I watched him on a play, and he went to the front side, and he made his first 2 reads, and he went all the way back to his backside reads. And Coach Belcher from Windthorst mentioned that as well last week. But the fact that a sophomore is getting to that 3rd and 4th progression is pretty incredible.
Coach's kid.
Yes, and he's super smart, and that part of that goes back to the offensive line getting a chance to get to that 3rd.
And he's got the biggest thing I'm hearing about him is the work ethic.
Yeah,
that kid is constantly at the school. Well, his dad is too. That doesn't mean the kid has to be.
That's right.
You got sons. I mean, they don't have to be up there.
No, but they do.
But they do.
But I've always thought that they grow up.
It's what they know.
Mama says, why don't you take your son to the field house with you when about the time they can walk? And they just live up there. And good or bad, but they become a coach on the field. They're really, really smart.
And coaches' kids are coachable.
Yes.
You tell them to do something, they're going to do it.
I always tried
what's going to happen when you get home.
I always tried to leave football at the field house and be dad at home, but we still talk football as much as I didn't want to. Jax or Jet would bring it up.
Yeah.
And my son Jake, that's a coach. We always talk football at the house because it's kind of what we did.
Right.
And I'm sure they're the same way.
But I'm excited to see this Rider team continue through the year and see what they do because I think they have something there.
I think they just what they did with Decatur, and Decatur's that's a good football team.
That running back's legit,
unbelievable. And I really like the kid. I liked him as a kid. By the way, I've gotten to know him a little bit over the last couple of years. I've seen every W5SD team play him last year, and then they're going to play him again this year. And so I've gotten to talk to the kid and actually interact with him on social media some too, and I'm really impressed with the kid.
And I think that's a good sign for Old High. That's kind of the group that's the team they need to beat, and not only in district, but eventually down the road. I mean, we're not too far off at this part of the junction of the season. I think Ryder might have had a little bit of slow start. I wasn't at the game. You can probably know more about that than I do, but I think just the atmosphere from the week before the big game. Coach Johnson talked about this last week was the hangover. Yeah. Trying to get those kids back up, ready to go after a game like the Old High game. And I think they might have come out like Coach Johnson had said.
For me, Ryder it's the kind of team they're just going to wear down on you. You talk about that O-line.
If you got a big, strong offensive line and you can run behind
and they're milking the clock. I mean, the offense didn't look like Holiday, but the idea might have looked like the old Holiday teams.
That's the thing. We did it. We went to a wing team for a reason.
Yeah.
And it was back when I didn't feel like we had the quarterback and I didn't feel like we had receivers, we had linemen. And it just kind of evolved into it. But I still believe in old school football, whether it's a spread, a wing tee, or I. And I'm one of the few, but I still believe in time of possession. And if you got a tight ball game, but you got some big horses up there that'll wear the other team down, you're going to win that game in the fourth quarter.
Yeah. As a former defensive guy, which I was a defensive guy, but I love those offenses.
Yeah.
As long as you were continuing, and we were spread. We started bone triple option, but we ended up going spread. But I couldn't stand the 3 and outs. I'm like, come on, guys, we just got off the field. Let's have a break.
If you're a defensive guy and you go 3 and out and they ran off 30 seconds of clock, you get really pissed.
Yeah, let's just say that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think Ryder's got this game.
I do too.
I think Coronado's down a little.
Yeah.
I think they're young quarterback position, and so and that's a big deal for what they do.
Moving on, Vernon, San Angelo, Lakeview, 1-1 coming to Vernon, Texas, 2-0.
Lakeview scored some points. They put up a lot of points on Sweetwater last week, and we were talking about Sweetwater before we got on here. Sweetwater's a much improved team. And what Lakeview scored 40-something points last week. I'd have to look it up the exact, but I'm sold on Vernon.
Talk about keeping the ball away from you.
Yeah, and the
slot
athletes.
T, athletes. One of the scene. I saw it up close and personal last year.
Third year for him to run it, and he's got his son at quarterback, another coach on the field. I guarantee you, Lakeview hadn't looked at a slot T this year. And they're trying to simulate it in practice, and you can't.
And I'm sold on the lines as well. I think the lines are gonna. I think they're gonna roar.
They're gonna go 3-0.
Yeah, I think so too. They got some. They got to get a little bit of from hearing some of my insider talk out there. They're looking for a little bit more cohesiveness on the offensive line, but they have the athletes that can.
With knowing that going in, they graduated some guys up front, and so we knew that they knew that was going to be an issue. When I talked to them, they knew the offensive line was going to have to do something to gel. But you guys know as well as I do, that's going to come.
As long as you stay healthy, those guys will come together.
Yeah,
and,
for sure. But I like the lines. I like what they're doing out there.
I think the great thing about high school football, your best friends a lot of times come from the guy in the locker next to you.
Yeah.
And I think that'll end up happening for the Vernon Lions. They'll become great friends, and they're going to play for each other and play for the team and play for the tradition.
Yeah, I agree. I think they got great young coaches, bring a lot of energy out there. I was in Gainesville this past weekend right after they played them, and I was at a hotel. We were at a wedding, and a guy came in, and we were talking football, and he said he was from Vernon. I said, man, the Vernon Lions are looking pretty good. And he said, yeah, they're back to what we do, running football.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you're right, and they're running it well right now. So, yeah, I like the Lions in this one.
And I got a little fooled on Gainesville, too, to be honest. And I think if I would have done a little more research to picking that game last week, I would have known it would been a little closer. But that's another team with the coach's kid at quarterback.
Yeah.
And he's a hell to bring down from what it sounded like talking to some Vernon folks.
Gainesville's always had some speed.
Yeah.
I mean, he goes back a long time, tradition-rich school. So you never know, but I'm going to pick the Lions.
Yeah. I think we're in agreement.
I don't think the Lions going to sleep tonight.
No. You going to sing that one, too?
I love that song. I get in my pickup, and I sing it as I go to Wichita Falls sometimes. Springtown, 0-2. That doesn't happen often against the Hershey Husky, 1-1.
Well, what Hershey?
That's a game.
That's a game. Springtown. Springtown had a down year last year. It bothers me that they're 0-2. It doesn't seem like they should stay down that way.
But one of those losses is the Graham Steers.
One of those losses is the Graham Steers are very good, very talented.
Very talented.
But Hershey's lost to the Brock Eagles,
which I thought they played them well, though.
Yeah, respectable show. I mean, 28-14. That game was 21-14 in the fourth quarter.
In Brock.
In Brock.
Yep.
Well, I think this will be a heck of a game.
I'm not sure if it's going to be that. I think Hershey might beat them by a couple touchdowns.
Yeah, I'm going to take Hershey by at least 20.
Yeah.
Going with a porcupine?
No, I don't.
I think Hewlett does a great job out there. Those guys were Eastland.
Coach Johnson has bought some of my barbecue before, so he's a loyal customer.
You got to pick him, right?
Him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just think I was very impressed, and I know a lot of times a lot of people aren't going to realize they lost 28-14 or whatever, but know who you're playing against.
Exactly.
And those guys do a really good job out in Brock, and I think going to Brock was tough. And I thought they, like you said, it was 21-14.
And you got to know Coach Johnson. Summer coaching the Oil Bowl with him.
Yeah. People calling during our podcast. Out
What are
there.
you doing? What is that?
What?
Gosh
Famous.
almighty.
I don't. Coach Johnson, I really liked their scheme, and I really enjoy getting to know him. I think Hershey's got some skill kids that can just take it to the house when they need to.
Yeah.
I think Springtown makes a mistake in the secondary or whatever. I think Hershey.
I think Hershey might be a little different. I hadn't had a chance to watch them yet, but they don't have the D1
No, then that's the big deal.
guy in the back, a D1 guy on the edge.
You're having to replace a guy like Amarion and Peterson and Jamarion Carroll.
You just can't replace those guys.
You can't.
Hershey's been able to at the running back position.
They have,
it seems like,
but you know what? They've got
another good one. Though.
They've got two. Yeah, they got two. Damon Conti is a really good one. He played a lot last year, and then KD Worthy. I called him KD Dorsey. They had a KD Dorsey a few years ago, but KD Worthy, he's electric. I mean, he's gone over for over 100, and I think in both games. And so, I mean, he's an impressive one. And then, man, they've got a guy that you just can't block on the defensive side in Javion Frazier. You can't, wherever he is, and he's playing some linebacker this year. You have to account for him with two or three guys. Yeah. And so you have that kind of figure on your defense. I mean, what kind of difference does that
Coach,
make?
where's that game? Is that game in Wichita Falls?
It is.
Yeah, it is.
Friday night.
Friday night.
I might have an opportunity to go watch it.
Yeah, and listen to the live stream. I'll be calling that one. Of course, we'll be doing the live stream, the W5SD live stream for the Old High game as well.
Good deal.
And then you can read about it in the Times Record News.
There we go. The whole shebang.
That's
Does it
the
all.
whole shebang.
That's why he's called the whole shebang.
That's right.
Burke Burnett, Owl Park, 1-1 versus 0-2, but
Rivalry game.
it is a rivalry game.
It is a big rivalry.
It is.
I've seen it where Iowa Park just seemed like they were so far ahead of Burke Burnett, recently. And then somehow Burke Burnett's was right there. I mean, you had the walk-off field goal. What was that? I guess that's been 5 or 6 years.
Yeah.
That's back in the Zach Duncan era of the TRN. But, I mean, it is. It's such an unbelievable Wichita County.
You can throw both records out the window.
Yeah.
You can throw away who you think the favorite is. That game's going to be a war.
Yes.
Just growing up in Owl Park, you really do hate orange and black.
I'm an Iowa Park grad as well, and so it goes deep. And,
two of you guys, man, I'm in a Iowa Park sandwich here.
That's not necessarily
a lot of meat.
I had the opportunity to
But we
coach
both
Coach Swinson and travel baseball, so
That's right.
that's how far we go back.
It's at Iowa Park. They still don't have the statue of me up.
I'm working on that.
I think the fat naked guy holding a torch is what I want.
Yeah.
So,
He wants to be like Memorial
With the
Stadium.
Memorial Stadium, just want it in your image.
yeah,
Okay,
kind of
all right,
like
all
the
right.
old Elvis.
Yeah, I got you.
Not the young guy I was.
But yeah, I mean, but Burke's almost feels like Iowa Park's home. I mean, they played a year there.
They did
over there, all their home games over there, and all that. So I don't know, man. It's a tough one.
It's a coin flip. It's almost like it's a coin flip every year. I think this. Even Burke being 1-1, I think this still might be Burke's toughest test.
I have no doubt.
And just because it is Iowa Park, and I don't know how Iowa Park would match up with well, I think they would be fine against Bridgeport, but I don't know how they match up with Crum. It might be pretty even there. But regardless, I think because it's Iowa Park Burke, I think it's pretty even. You guys are. I haven't even picked this one in my own picks yet.
It's a tough pick.
Yeah.
I know Iowa Park might be down some running backs. What I'd heard that they've been kind of banged up back there. I still really like the Parker Allen kid.
Yeah.
I think he's a big load to bring down. I think he's a guy that's going to be tough to bring down, and he does a lot of really good things for him. I still remember him in 8th grade. And we played those guys in a scrimmage in 8th grade, and he was just a man among boys.
Yeah.
And but I think he does a lot of really good things for him. But it's still just a toss-up game.
If I knew anything about either team's injury situation,
That would be the difference,
that would be the difference. Whoever's the healthiest, I think, probably wins. And in this case, if they're both healthy, to start whoever stays the healthiest during the game.
Homecoming, Iowa Park.
Yeah.
Throw that into it. And I don't know if that's an advantage or a disadvantage.
Yeah, there's just a lot to it, but there's some schools. I always thought our kids always played better on homecoming. you know, and they were more fired up, all the stuff going on, and in some schools it's a distraction.
I'm one of those coaches that love homecoming. I love everything about it. I like the daggum parade and the bonfire. I love homecoming.
Yeah,
And
Taking the Hawks. It's homecoming. They need a win. Take the Hawks.
I've got to go with the Hawks. I want to go back to the homecoming game. So I haven't been to one in a long, long time, and I'm going to try to get out there and watch a little bit of that.
You were halftime of one not too long ago.
Yeah, that's
First
true.
half of one.
That's true. I did. I had the opportunity to walk my daughter across. Talk about a crazy night going coaching the first half of a football game, shooting across. Coach Swinson, those guys were great. They had me a spot to park right there at the gate. Ran down, escorted my daughter across for homecoming, and then got to hop back in the car, haul butt back to City View, and finish the game.
And I had no idea that was happening, and I just happened. Who were y'all playing that night?
Jeez,
Do you remember? I
I
can't remember either, but I covered the game. So
Yeah.
I showed up to cover City View, and Hawkins isn't here. What is going on? So I had to figure it out, and I figured out as the game was going on.
Yeah, I always remember, always knew that we had a good year going when Hull would show up, and
Yeah,
we'd always
that's
try to
right.
make it kind of special for you. We'd make you a spot there, we'd put your name
that's
down,
right.
put your drink or something there. But we always knew that's what we talked about that as staff. We're like, hey, Hull's coming to the game tonight. We've made it.
When I came here, I was W5SD. That was my beat, and as the staff got thinner and thinner, obviously I branched out a little bit. But you two guys are actually the game I've covered more than any other that's not W5SD related is City View Holiday.
It's always been a
Covered it
good
3
game.
times.
Yeah.
More times than not, it was a close game.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've always thought our kids really enjoyed playing the holiday guys. We knew what we were getting ourselves into, and they always stepped up and played. I always told our kids if we would play every game like you play the holiday game, we win more games.
Is that still the biggest win of your career? When you finally got one on this guy. You got the playoff win later,
He
but
cheated.
It was a big win just because of Holiday kind of had the best of us for a long time, and we had the opportunity to win a couple there. Not very many.
I still turned into the interviewer here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was a good night. It was a
Question.
good night for our community to win that game. But I thought it's probably one of the
If
better.
you weren't here, you'd be saying, "Hey,
The thing was, that was a good win for them, and it was probably a great loss for us because it got us focused again.
Yeah.
And I'm not taking anything away from that City View team because they were dang good, but we were kind of beating our chest about how good we were,
Well, they had the biggest matchup problem in the district, right? With what you had on the outside with Jalen Marks.
Yeah.
I mean,
And he was a big difference in that game, and I really thought that year that we were going to match back up and play Holiday again.
Yeah.
And then
he gets
and
hurt.
then he gets hurt, and then we end up losing to Lexington, which
That was your year, man. That was
Lexington-
it. You got so many what ifs about that year.
Lexington had that running back that turned out to be
Yes.
pretty good.
Yeah, real good. But you guys
with
had
A&M.
Gunter on the ropes.
Yeah, we had them beat at their place that year, and they ended up winning state championship.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it was a good year. I mean, that was going to be a really cool event for Wichita Falls if we would have handled ourselves because Frank and those guys took care of their business, and it was going to be the Ryder Old High and City View Holiday
The double header
at the stadium was already set. So. Unfortunately, we had some injuries there, and I still think if we were healthy, we'd have beat Lexington, and then it would have been a great day in Wichita Falls for football.
Oh.
The what ifs.
What ifs for me too.
The difference between a win and a loss is not very much sometimes.
Yeah, we talked about that a lot.
Yeah. Moving on, Glen Rose 1-1 versus the Graham 2-0.
This is a good one.
But it was. I wish Glen Rose graduated heavy. That was a team that could have won a state title very easily last year.
Oh, I'm friends with Coach Watkins, and he's a good one. He's a really good
great
one. And he was kicking himself at the state football championship when he saw it, and then he sees what they do to the championship game, just destroys them. And if they don't fumble that ball, I think that they probably have a state championship.
That they had. I mean, that's probably the best offensive line as a unit I've ever seen in OSU at the high school level and what they had.
And the speed that they play at's incredible.
Yes.
I mean, they're super fast.
You couldn't stop them. I mean, Hershey could not get off the field against them that year. And Carthage had a tough time getting off the field against them. And so that was their time. But I don't think this is a Glen Rose team. Now, I say that, and I have an extreme respect for Coach Watkins. I know him better, and he knows me. but he was offensive coordinator at Midland Lee whenever I was there.
He got a heck of a resume.
Yeah, and he took Midland Lee. Coach James Morton hired him, and at Midland Lee, and brought him in to change them from the run heavy offense that Morton always ran to a spread.
Well, and he worked at Cisco for a while.
Yeah.
When he took the Eastland job, I called Coach West at Cisco, and I said, "How good a coach is he?" He said, "He's good," which really irritated me. I didn't need him to be good.
and what's tough about Cliff is he's really good, but he's really humble.
Yeah.
And he's a great guy.
Yeah.
And that's what I've always liked about him when he was at Eastland. That's when I got to know him when he was in our district.
Yeah, I can't pick
ever
this
since
guy.
then, he's been great.
Graham, I know, is good.
Yeah, I hate to go against Cliff just because of buddies with him, but I've been sold on Graham from the get go. I watched him in the scrimmage against Perkinet, and I knew what they had coming back, and they're really junior heavy. I think that junior quarterback that they have is a good one. I mean, he's a big, strong kid. He throws the ball well.
Be a great test for Graham.
It's gonna be a good test.
It's gonna be a good test. I think Graham's on another level. I really do.
And Graham owes them. Or two. I think they lost to him twice last year, so I know Graham's got that in the back of their mind. But I'm on the Graham bandwagon. I'm drinking the Kool-Aid,
and they'll overcome again having Adam Arrington on the coaching staff.
I mean, anytime you got him on, everybody else has to pick up the coaching.
Right.
And he worked for me for some years, and I fired him every Friday night. I'm on the Graham bandwagon. I think they got something special this year, and I think even next year they're even going to be better.
I don't know how Arrington sees anything, but he snapped a picture of me at Goldberg throwing my referee hands up somehow on the screen. I mean, you can't even tell it's me, but Arrington texted that night.
Oh yeah, he's good at that stuff.
I don't know how he does it either.
That's what he's best at.
Henrietta 1-1 at Bowie. 1-1.
Yeah, I'm glad Bowie got a win last week. That game was weird though. It was 2-2 at one point for a long time in that game between them and Bridgeport. I'm glad Bowie got a win, but I'm afraid of Henrietta.
Henrietta's healthy, I think.
And we talked about that last week. We talked about the Bowie Bridgeport game. Is that both of these teams were going into that game thinking, hey, we have a shot here.
Yeah.
And I think Coach Price and those guys out there, I think it's going to take some time.
Yeah.
But getting that win early does wonders. And Coach, you know that for a fact. I mean, an early wins make things a lot better. I bet this week's practice was one of the best practice weeks they've had in a long time.
And what I like about with Coach Price and that hire, one, he's been one of my favorite baseball coaches to work with over the last few years, and two, for him to get a year under a guy who's had success coaching like Hugh Farmer last year and get to kind of pick that up. Because what Coach Farmer did more than anything when he got to Bowie is he got a buy-in from athletes that didn't play football out there.
Exactly.
And that has continued there with Coach Price now.
Yeah.
And so, but I like Henrietta in this game. Blevins at quarterback is such a monster.
Got, to me, just the highlights I've seen, that looks like they've got it rolling.
The Essler kid out there is
he's gonna be tough to deal with, and he's a big, strong, physical kid. No, and corners and safeties, they don't like those big physical receivers.
No.
I mean, nobody likes those type guys.
No.
And so, but I think Henrietta, if healthy, is the difference in that game.
Speaking of big physical receiver, Jacksboro 2-0 at Peachtree.
Big physical receivers. They got
a bunch of them.
They got a couple, right?
Yeah.
Jacksboro's going 3-0.
Yeah, Jacksboro's going 3-0. They're gonna average 45 points a game or something. I mean, Lando Belcher is about to throw for 5,000 yards. I think. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, he might.
I just worry. I want to see them better defensively. I think that's a real question with Jacksboro right now. They've gotten behind in both games so far, and that's scary.
They've given up some points.
Yeah.
I think their big game is the Comanche game.
Huge game.
They're going to have to
and
play
Comanche's
better
putting up some points too.
That Comanche run game is legit. That running back's a good one.
He's good, yeah.
But I'm telling you what, that thing might end up 70-70. I'm not sure.
He was at Midland League for a while.
Was he? Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, because Jacksboro offensively is potent, and with Lando back there and those receivers, they're scary, dangerous back there.
And they've developed the run game. That's the real thing. Like last year, it was kind of there, but the Sam's kid at running back has had back-to-back 100-yard performances.
No, that's big.
And
that's going to open it up even more.
Yeah, and Lando ran for 100 last week, too.
Good luck.
All right.
Yeah.
Next game, pair of 1-1 team. Holiday at Idalou.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's people cussing me for scheduling Idlewild right now as they figure out.
They're cussing you for this entire schedule, right? Because you got Childress next week.
I know it, but they're coming here.
It's a tough schedule. We talked about that last year when you made that schedule. Was when you're been really really good for a long time, it's hard to find games close.
Yes, yeah.
And the only people who want to play you are people that are as good or better than you.
Idlewild, Coach White out there worked for me, so he worked for me at Colorado City, and he's a friend of mine. And I asked him early in the summer how they were going to be. He said, "Well, we're going to be young at the beginning. We've got some athletes, and I think we can be good by the time we're in." So, Holiday, same token, they've got some athletes, new system. I think the same way. By the time they're all said and done, they're going to be good too.
Yeah.
Take care of turnovers. 3-hour bus ride or 3 hours and 15 minutes is not going to be fun, and it's supposed to be hot. But I think the Eagles can handle it. I'm picking the hometown boys.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know anything about Idlewild. I just know, every year in and year out, they're good. And I think they're ranked. I think, you might have said
they just ranked. Yeah, I think they just broke in. They're in 9 or 10 in the DCTF poll. But
a big win last week.
Big win last week.
And they got beat by a good Sweetwater team or an athletic Sweetwater team.
Yeah, I think Idlewild is probably. I think Holiday's in a transition period, and whenever you're playing opponents that can kind of expose some of those trends. I mean, there's going to be lumps that are taken with transitions, particularly the ones that Holiday is going through on both sides of the ball. I mean, the schemes on both sides of the ball are very different. And so I think that's just going to be tough. You're going to have to take some lumps here with this tough non-district schedule some former coach put together.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those deals. I think that eventually they're going to continue to get better, and they'll be ready when it's time. But it's going to be it's a tough non-district schedule. And
it is tough, but it's hard. I know these kids went since 7th grade, or actually some of them before, so it's hard for me to.
We don't expect you to ever pick against Coach. You get to be the homer on that.
I got to be the homer.
Yeah,
I got to pick the Eagles.
I get it. I'm as much as when I was coaching against Holiday, I always told Frank, I said, man, I'm rooting for you 9 weeks out of the year in the regular season.
Yeah, I wish you luck 9 times out of 10, but there's one week I want you to get beat.
For you, but I'm rooting for the Eagles here, and I'm hoping for an upset and get them rolling. Because a game like this, if they can go out there and pull off a win, because it's going to be an upset if they win. I mean, let's just get it straight. You're going there, you're playing at Idlewild, it's going to be upset. If you go up there and upset on a ranked team on the road after a night that you didn't think went well, but I think that could propel a team.
Yeah, they've just got to pick up the pieces. It snowballed against them, or from what I can tell, turnovers cost them, but put it together this week. The ultimate goal is to get it together before district.
Yeah,
starts.
And that's the great thing about football is you get to play again.
And believe it or not, the ultimate goal of this schedule, besides having a hard time finding somebody, was to give yourself a chance to get good enough to beat some of those hard teams in the playoffs and go as far as you can. And we'll see what happens. It'll be a tough game, man. But I am glad I'm not riding the bus to Idlewild. I wouldn't be able to walk after I got off the Yellow Dog. So Millsap at Archer City 1-1 versus 2-0. Millsap coming off the loss to the Henrietta Bearcats.
Close one though.
Gonna learn something. I think a lot more about Archer City, and I'm impressed with what Coach Richie has done out there, and with what he lost to the transfer portal. That's tough, and he's found kids. He's got a quarterback that's playing really well, being thrown in there, haven't really played the position
he's young,
before. Yeah, but they're finding he's found the pieces. So he and his coaching staff deserve a lot of credit, and I've known Braden since he was in college. His dad was the coach at Big Spring when I started my career, and his family's real special to me.
Well, and Philip was leaving Colorado City when I went there in '98.
Yeah,
he was going to Coleman.
Philip, and then Mike, which is Braden's uncle. Mike was one of my coaches in high school. I covered Braden's cousin. Blank on the name there, but Matt Ritchie. I covered him when he was in high school. He played tight end at Baylor.
His brother's head coach at Boyd.
His head coach at Boyd. I mean, it's just that family. It's what they do as coach.
Philip,
They do.
he was on the Boyd team at one state.
Yep.
I'm sorry.
But he was on the coaching staff. Ian and Braden both were both on the team.
But I think you're right. I think this is going to be a big test for him. I think Coach Johnson out at Millsap, he's one of my favorite dudes to ever get to coach against, and does a great job.
You don't want to get in a fist fight with him.
No, he's a bear.
He's a big dude.
And his guys are always ready and they're physical to play. But I was impressed with their showing against Henrietta. To push them the way that they did.
And
so.
came back late and made that an interesting game. That was a big fourth quarter comeback, kind of like what Old High did. And it ended up the same score, 45-40.
Yeah. Those boys play hard for it.
Curious, we'll learn a lot more about our city.
Yeah, I'm going to pick Millsap in this game though. I'm going.
Yeah, I'm leaning towards Millsap just because I'm more familiar with Millsap.
There is a size difference here.
Yeah,
Millsap's a much bigger school.
Yeah.
So,
excuse me, I get tired of sitting down.
Haskell 0-2 Albany. Albany's 1-1.
Yeah.
Yeah, Haskell just lost to Stanford, who's a good team. Which those two head coaches are best friends. They both won state championships there at Stanford.
Yeah.
Together, but
I love Mitch. It's hard for me to pick against him.
It's hard to pick against Mitch.
I'm gonna pick the Beer this week.
I think this is kind of team that Mitch does well against. I always say this about him. He is so good with his team. They can muck up a game with the best of them.
Yeah.
And they did last year. Haskell, they're so competitive in everything because they just seem to find a way to muck up a game.
Well, he's a great defensive mind.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to pick Haskell. I think Haskell might get the best of Albany this week.
At Albany, I'm gonna go with the Cubs 3-0.
Yeah, man, I don't know. I really want to flip a coin. I hadn't seen, I'm not real sure on which route to go.
2-1. I'm sorry, I said that wrong.
What's that?
I said Albany was going to 3-0. They're going to 2.
They're going 2-1. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. I like both of these coaches. I like Coach Powers and the things that they've done out there in the past couple of years. I mean, you got to remember they were a doormat, and they've really kind of turned it around.
And he was
part
part
I
of
think
that.
they really,
he's a
big part of that. I think they need this win, and being at home, I'm just going to take the home team here. I love Mitch, and I hate going against Mitch, but I'm going to go with the home team.
Mitch is a great one. And for a brief moment, I think it's because he lived in Island Park for a year or two.
He's just a good dude. Man.
He's a good dude.
Really good guy.
All right, 0-2 teams. Quanah Indians, Petroleum Pirates.
It's tough sledding out in Quanah right now. It is. He's young.
Yeah.
Gosh, he's young. He's got, I think, 4 seniors on the entire team. That's tough, But Petrolia's not bad. But I've been really impressed with what Petrolia's done these 2 weeks.
Me too.
And that is just the Byron West type coach team, right?
Yep.
And gosh, his experience in a game, in a game like this, and his experience, period. I think Petrolia's got this one.
Yeah, we've talked about Coach West. Coach Johnson and I are very, very familiar with Coach West.
A little bit, huh? A little bit both of them.
And he just does a great job with those guys. It's hard for me to go against Quanah. I coached in Quanah. Coach Jackson's an ex-player of mine out there at Quanah who played for me. And so it's hard to go against them. But, man, I've been very impressed with these first 2 weeks. The Sacred Heart game was a big eye-opener.
Big eye-opener. So was Albany for me. That's you know how hard it is to play against the Beer. Yeah. And in today's football, and it's, to go out there and hold them. I mean, we lost both games with 15-13, right? So they should win 15-13 by what we think. But you mentioned Coach Jackson. My biggest thing right now, the Quanah school board members and Quanah ISD has not been patient with coaches.
Exactly.
They've got to be patient here.
Yeah.
Well, we live in a microwave society. We want instant gratification.
Absolutely.
And I don't think it happens. I think it takes a while to put a system on. I think it takes a while to get them to do what you want.
Mm-hmm.
And,
it's tough to win with 4 seniors.
Yes.
I mean, you're basically playing. You're playing a Thursday night schedule on Fridays. I've been there.
Yeah.
And it's just not fair.
I tell you what, and I've been thinking about this a bunch. I love social media. I put all kinds of stupid stuff on Facebook and Twitter. And,
we appreciate it.
Yeah, because I think it's funny, and that's what I like. But all these people that get on social media and you immediately bash your hometown, I think it's stupid because all you're doing is hurting the team. The kids read that stuff and they start losing faith. And why?
Yeah.
On Saturday morning, you want to win. You want a W. We gotta pull the microwave up, and we ought to win a state championship today.
Yeah.
Well, it doesn't work like that.
Not how Rome wasn't built overnight.
No, it is. So I think Petrolia's going to win, but I hope Coach Jackson weathers the storm.
Yeah, exactly.
Moving on, Seymour at Albany. Woo, doggy, 2-0, 2-0. Seymour's
going to get a test. Let's say that first off.
Yeah,
Denny
for sure.
cousin Denny Faith out there can coach football. He's got like
Little bit.
8,000 wins.
A little bit.
I think it's like 8,005 now.
Yeah. I scrimmaged him every year to start the season in Colorado City. And I love scrimmaged him because I knew what I was going to get. Those kids from Albany were going to line up, break the huddle, hit you as hard as they could. When the whistle blew, they were going to hustle back to the huddle. They didn't talk trash. They didn't do any of the extra stuff. They just whooped your tail.
Yeah, I mean, the last 2 weeks we've talked how much we love Coach Lloyd out there at Seymour, but man, it's hard to go against Coach Fates and Albany Lions.
Yeah, this is one of those things you blame on Coach Farmer.
Yeah.
I don't know if he scheduled them or not, but say, what the heck were you
I think
thinking?
he did. Yeah, I think he was there long enough to schedule. Maybe. No?
So-
Yeah, he was.
He was. He was
Yeah,
there long enough to schedule.
I think that the tradition and everything else. Where's this game being played at?
Albany.
I'm going with Albany.
And it's got one of the words. It's like the sweat box in Cool Hand Luke is your locker room.
Yeah.
They may have changed it. We went out there one time and our kids were showering. I guarantee you it was like 180 degrees in there. Cool Hand Luke, by the way, is the sweatiest movie ever made.
All right. I didn't know where you were going with that.
Well, I'm just saying, you get thrown in the box, you sweat a bunch, and it's a hot stadium. Windthorst at Munster, 1-0 versus 0-2.
I'm taking a German town to win.
Okay.
I think you could have.
Are we grading sausage? Are we grading?
I don't know. That's a whole different conversation.
Right? Yeah.
I would like to be a part of the judging of that sausage contest.
I agree with that. This is a great game.
At Munster.
This is like Munster, Lindsay, Munster, Windthorst. Just put them all together and get after it. But
Munster's young, but they don't go 0-2 very often.
No.
They've got some talent, young talent.
are they both? Were they both off last week?
No, Munster was not.
They got beat.
Windthorst was. How about you had him on last week, but how about Belcher's youngest coming out and
First play of the game.
I mean, what a debut!
Yeah, that's what
by
I thought.
Brock, and
They've had 2 weeks to prepare.
yeah, that too.
Yeah, I'm a big believer in that Windthorst staff and what they do and
It's
how
about as
they
good as
prepare
it
for,
is, yeah.
for games. And I think Juicy at quarterback or Brock. I guess
Big Juicy.
I know him as Juicy, but
Yeah.
I think he's going to be a great player. We talked about this last week of all the young quarterbacks that we have in the area. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
He's definitely one up there that's going to be a really, really special player. But no, I like the Trojans, especially coming off a bye week. They're going to have 2 weeks to prepare for Munster. And I believe in that staff.
Yeah. Well, I think, boy, it'd be a great game. There's a lot of good games.
That will be a good place to grab a sausage. Either place you go.
Or cheese.
I'm a big fan of the strudel there that you can get at the bakery pit stop there in Munster.
I almost made. I decided to take a nap tonight. I was gonna throw some Underwood's cherry cobbler on the smoker.
Now you want to talk about it.
I couldn't help it. Subbing all day just wore me
Now,
down.
If you
Something
understood
about-
how much I love cobbler.
I don't know. I mean, when I start talking sausage between the two, the Windthorst sausage makes me burp a little bit more
That's
than the Lindsay sausage. But I like both of them.
Yeah,
I can't go wrong. If you cook one up, I'm eating.
Right, yeah. Not turning nothing
That's
down.
why I got to get my sausage making business going. With Gridiron football, make me a little pig in the blanket.
I expect that next week.
Okay.
I've got to learn how to.
Can I
make
just come back to
sausage.
eat?
Yeah.
Can I just come back each week to eat?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Might put a
That's
little
what I
football
look forward
helmet
to.
on.
Right.
So,
Like what's Coach Jay gonna cook for us this week?
I was thinking shotgun shells next week.
I
There you go.
hadn't had a bite. Hold on. What's a shotgun shell?
It's basically it's a piece.
Yeah.
What the hell is that noodle called?
It's like a
Not a
so
minestrone.
one of the long
Yeah.
pasta noodles.
Okay.
Like round.
And you wrap it in bacon, but I like making it with like pulled pork or
Stuff
brisket.
that shell.
Okay.
Mix it with cream cheese and some jalapeno and stuff.
Like a manicotti type thing.
Yeah,
there you
exactly,
go. There we
manicotti.
go.
And wrap it in bacon. Put it on your smoker. You got to season your meat and stuff before you put it in there. But you stuff it in there, put it on the smoker, let it cook, and then come in and glaze it with barbecue sauce.
Well, I'm expecting that next week for sure. So whoever we decide to bring in next week might be in for a treat.
And Hull might just show
And
up.
Hull might be here too.
This might
You
show up
never
to you.
know. Hopefully it'll cool off.
Well, it's supposed to. I think that we have a break in the weather next week.
I think that's right. Yeah.
So I saw
I
maybe
believe it when it
high
comes.
Overdue.
80s, low 90s. With some
Overdue.
chances of rain, please come.
All right, last game. Electra 1-1 at Nocona 2-0.
Now, I think looking at this game from the outside in, everybody thinks like Nakona's fixing to run away.
Mhm. I think you're a fool.
Oh,
Not so fast, my friend.
Hold on just a second.
Yeah.
Coach McKitty and those Electra Tigers, they had a great showing against Santo.
So, how many points did Electra score last year?
Not as many as they scored.
71 points last year. They scored 61 on Friday night.
Yeah.
The move-ins help. The coaches' kids
Coaches'
definitely
kids.
help.
Definitely players.
And I think everybody was expecting a massively improved team in Electra. You got to see that. There's no shame in losing to Santo ever. But Nocona, the experience that they have.
No shame to lose to them.
I mean,
those guys.
Give Coach Krupp what he's done
Man,
and building that program since he's gotten there.
done a great job.
They've got to go out to Nocona.
Yeah.
Make it a little tougher.
Mm-hmm.
I'll take Nocona home game. Nocona brings an atmosphere. Doesn't matter if you're in that little box gym. Doesn't matter if you're at the little football field. Nocona brings an atmosphere that's unlike anything.
They love their Indians.
Yes.
And they really love them when they're winning.
Yeah.
Yes, they do.
I've been
And they've
banned
been
for
winning.
Nocona for calling them out about it. So I was
Yeah.
briefly banned from there for about 30 minutes.
I'm telling you, it's
I'm not real fond of
we
Nocona
never
myself.
we never played well in Nocona. I mean, there's just something there. I mean, and they got new lights now.
Oh.
So I mean, used to
You can
if you,
actually see.
if you threw the ball on the far side, on their home side over there at the corner, I never saw my receivers because the lighting was terrible. But they got
lighting's not much better out here.
They got new.
Yeah, you're getting darker and darker.
They got new lights out there and everything else. But no, I love Crut Singer and what he's done out there and the job that they've done. But I'm a believer in the Electra Tigers.
Yeah.
I am. I don't know if I'm a believer in that they can go into Nocona and win.
Okay, all right. That's a playoff team, though.
I think they're going to be a playoff team for sure.
I think they're a playoff team.
As long as they stay healthy. It's just like any other small school. One or two go down and
Yeah,
you're
it does.
in trouble. But they got some good looking kids out there. I've been out there a few times and seen them work out, and I was like, man, they got some dudes.
And you can't call them a playoff team like
No,
you can't because of the district.
sure.
I mean, you're talking. I mean, Windthorpe's obviously at the top of it. Seymour, we absolutely expect Seymour to be in the playoffs.
Sure.
Archer City, Haskell. I mean, you're talking
It's
about
a tough district.
yeah.
And so, but that's what I think about them. I mean, I think they really are. I mean, I'm looking forward to seeing them in person and actually seeing them play. But I think they're doing a lot of the right things there.
I think
Just the little things. I went there one day and McKitty was in there and they were scrubbing their floor and he's just changed the atmosphere. a little
Yeah.
bit. And
His experience, and he's waited a long time to become a head coach.
sure.
But his experience he gained and so under the direction of so many different coaches.
Yeah.
And at so many different levels of football too.
Yeah.
It's
It's incredible.
it's
you look at
invaluable.
you look at his road to being a head coach it's well overdue.
Yes.
But great guy, by the way, great guy.
Yeah.
And so I wish them the best. But yeah, I look forward to seeing the Tigers.
You skipped a game.
who'd I skip?
City View and Trimble Tech.
I done sure
It's
did.
a last second.
Last second game.
I should know that game.
Yeah. You're calling the game.
Yeah, you're reffing that game.
That's
huh?
right.
I'm not picking.
Can't
Yeah,
pick.
you can't pick that. You can't pick
that
that.
way.
And
Well, we know who you're picking.
exactly.
So
You
I'm
know
the
going-
objective one.
you
I
I'm
know-
going with Mustangs.
I know nothing about Trimble Tech.
I have nothing. I know nothing about
Yeah,
Trimble Tech.
You know what I know about him goes back in 1980.
Probably the same.
Same year I was born.
1981, we were playing them in Olive Park, and they had a
I was
running back that we did not tackle, and we got chewed out at halftime. And I can't repeat the speech; it's not politically correct at all. Coach Ball was getting on to us. I go up to Tech my freshman year, and the dude that ran all over us was playing for Tech. Now, he didn't start. Timmy Smith, that played for the Redskins, was the starter. But a couple of years later, a cat named James Gray from Trimble Tech was the running back, and James was pretty good. He's a nice guy. And I thought, well, hell, no wonder
No wonder he
was
ran
chewing.
all over
Yeah,
us.
he was good.
Yeah, I don't know anything about Trimble Tech. I know that Coach Ostrich feels that they have a chance. I mean, it's a 5A program.
Yeah, that's the
coming
thing.
in,
That's where you look at it.
in the town,
Numbers.
it's just numbers, and with the heat again. You know, when they're going to have a whole lot more guys to play than our guys do. But yeah, I'm going with the Mustangs, man. I can't go against them. I'm kind of like Frank with the Eagles.
I'll end up picking Trimble Tech just because of numbers, and then that's really what it's going to come down to. But hey, I mean, get you guys tested. That's what district's about, right? Non-district's about. In City View, all of a sudden that schedule, you had 2 bye weeks on there, so you throw Trimble Tech in there. You just played a really good Vernon team with a slot T. You played a Frederick team that's never a slouch.
No.
And now Trimble Tech.
And then you're going to back that up with Bullwheat.
Yeah.
And then, we got rid of the TLCA team. That's one of the last things I did there, and because they weren't very good, and it just was one of those deals. We needed someone to push us a little bit more. So we picked up an Atlas team, but we didn't know anything about them. Well, they ended up beating Nolan Catholic last week.
Oh, wow.
So I don't know.
What did you do? What did you do?
Yeah. Sorry, guys.
Boyd must be decent.
Boyd, talk about Mr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, type thing with them. The first week they get trumbled by Blue Ridge.
Yeah.
And then they come back and play their socks off against
Jacksboro.
So who knows?
Yeah, and without seeing the game, without watching film, sometimes games just get away from you, snowball, and bad things happen.
Yeah.
And you don't want to base your season on it.
Yeah.
So,
no.
Well,
I get it.
Thank y'all for watching, listening, whatever the heck you're doing.
I hope you stuck with us.
Yeah.
Pretty good show tonight. I highly recommend making Barney in for the family.
Yeah, it's delicious.
It is worth.
We
It is worth
We got to
it.
dive in here this morning.
We want to thank Jonathan Bull from TRN joining us tonight. It was good to be on the other end.
Yeah.
Got a little applause for you.
Did it work?
Yeah, it did.
All right.
So it was good having you and putting you on the other side of us for a change, and that was good. We'll probably definitely be bringing you back to get some of your knowledge. You know more about what we got going on, but yeah, who knows who shows up next week, Coach?
Yeah. Hey, we're open. We're eventually gonna try to talk about some former athletes if we got time that are doing wonderful things out there in the college ranks. I'm not very good at looking at that stuff up, so if you've got somebody, you can email it to me, or let me know
talk
somehow.
about those guys in the area and girls that are doing great in college and talk about that a little
The
bit.
Kahili boy got defensive player of the
had a
week.
great game.
ACU. I know the Rodriguez boy out of Ryder had a great game going before he got hurt. So
Duda Banks got his first sack for Texas Tech
I
the
know.
other day. Tucker Horn's been down there at Trinity, Division III, and I'm pretty sure he's setting their passing records down there. And of course, he's out of Graham, and his brother's there too, playing defense.
Yeah, Keaton Wilson, one of my City View guys, defensive lineman from last year, he got into his first game this past weekend for Texas Wesleyan. So
Nice.
as a true freshman, so that was good. And we also have Jordan Durham, who's at Navarro, getting to play.
Okay, good. I was
too,
wondering
so,
if he'd gotten there.
Yeah, so he's gotten in down there and playing well. So, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. Well,
Yeah,
we have a lot of girls.
I've got a list.
I know the Fox girl at ACU, they beat Tech, and she's one of their best players and has a 15, 20 kills a game. And
Well, one of your former Holiday girls, Skylar Rivers, she's playing college volleyball.
I played Amarillo College.
Yeah, and she set the program's assist record.
Yeah.
This past week.
I know we have like Peyton Murray playing, and
Robert Christian.
Witherspoon, and then Bella Dickens had a great game for Midwestern.
Did she? Good.
She had the most kills in the game.
I should know that, but
she was one of the conference players of the week or whatever for the conference, Lone Conference this past weekend. So a lot of great athletes doing a lot of good things around here.
I used to read more Twitter and stuff to keep up with that stuff, but Now that I've tried to become a pit master, I spend more time watching videos on cooking meat. Even if I know how to cook it, I still watch it.
It's working.
It's working.
It is working. It is working.
Yeah.
All right. Until next time.
Thank y'all.
All right, appreciate it, guys.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. That was a long one.
Yeah.
We actually got to talk.
Guys, I got to go.
Yeah. Well, good luck in your
Yeah.
draft.
Yeah. Frank, good to see you, sir. Thanks for having me out and doing it.
I'm trying to stop
Oh.
this damn thing.